If you filed a VA claim, got denied, and gave up, you probably left money on the table. Same thing if you got approved, but at a rating that felt too low. This video is going to tell you exactly who to call, what to file, and how far back the money can go. No pep talk, just the moves. Here's the first thing to understand. The person who denied you is not the final word. A claim decision can be challenged, and there are 4 different people or paths that can challenge it for you. Let me go through all 4 and tell you exactly what each one does. Path 1, a different service officer at a different organization. If the officer who helped you rushed you or didn't know the benefit you were asking for, go to a different one. The DAV, the VFW, the American Legion, and your county and state veterans offices all have accredited service officers, and they work for free. Here's the concrete move. Take your denial letter to a service officer at an organization you have not used yet, and ask them to review the decision and tell you why it was denied. A good one will spot in 10 minutes what a rushed one missed. You are allowed to switch. You do not owe your first officer anything. Path 2, the VA's own appeal system. 3 forms, pick one. If you got an official denial, you can file for a review. There are 3 options and they are not interchangeable, so here's how to choose. Option 1 is a supplemental claim. You file this when you have new evidence the VA didn't have before, like a new doctor's report. The form is VA Form 200995. The VA aims to decide it in about 125 days. Option 2 is a higher level review. You file this when you have no new evidence, but you think they got the decision wrong on what you already gave them. A senior reviewer looks at it again. The form is VA Form 200996, also about 125 days. Option 3 is a board appeal. This sends your case out of your local office entirely, up to a veterans law judge at the Board of Veterans Appeals. That judge does not work for the office that denied you. So if you feel like your local office never gave you a fair shot, this is how you go over their heads. It's slower, usually a year or more, but for a strong case, it's worth it. Now here's the deadline that traps people, so write it down. For a higher level review or a board appeal, you have 1 year from the date printed on your decision letter. Miss that year and those 2 doors close. The supplemental claim you can file later, but if you file it within that same 1 year, you protect your original filing date, and that date is what your back pay is calculated from. So step 1 today is simple. Find the letter, look at the date, count the months. And if you're going the supplemental claim route, here's exactly what new evidence carries the most weight so you don't waste the filing. 2 things. First, a current diagnosis from a doctor in writing saying you have the condition now. Second, and this is the big one, a nexus letter. That's a short statement from a medical provider saying that in their professional opinion, your condition is at least as likely as not connected to your service. Those exact words, at least as likely as not, are the legal standard the VA uses. A nexus letter hands the reviewer the missing link they said they didn't have the first time, and it has turned around a lot of old denials. There's also one specific thing that reopens old denials on its own, and you need to know about it if you were ever turned down for anything tied to toxic exposure. A recent law called the PACT Act expanded what the VA now accepts as connected to service, especially burn pits, Agent Orange, and other hazards, and it lets veterans go back and refile claims that were denied years ago. So a no you got in the 90s, or even earlier, could be a yes today under rules that didn't exist back then. If you were ever denied for something like a toxic exposure illness, that old denial is worth pulling out and refiling right now. Path 3, an accredited claims agent or attorney. These are people the VA officially recognizes to fight denials for you. Here's the part that matters. For your first claim, they generally cannot charge you at all. They can only charge once you're appealing a denial. And the standard deal is contingency, meaning they only get paid if they win. Their fee comes out of your back pay. And for the direct pay arrangement the VA honors, that fee is capped at 20%. So the setup is this. If they lose, you owe nothing. If they win, their cut comes out of money you were never going to see otherwise. You can find accredited agents and attorneys through the VA's own website. Path 4. Your members of Congress. This is the one almost nobody uses. Every U.S. representative and every senator has a staff member whose job is helping veterans with the VA. They're called caseworkers. You have 3 of these offices, your 1 representative and your 2 senators, and you can call all 3 today. Here's the exact move. Call the office, ask for the caseworker who handles Veterans Affairs, and say you want to open a congressional inquiry on your VA claim. They'll have you sign a privacy release so they can look at your file, and you give them your claim number and a few sentences on what went wrong. Then their office contacts a special VA unit that exists only to answer Congress. This works best when your claim is stuck. If it's been sitting more than about 125 days with no decision, that delay alone is reason enough to make the call. It costs you nothing, and it puts pressure on your file that you can't create by yourself. Before any of those 4, do one more thing that makes all of them work better. Request your C file. That's the VA's complete record of your case, every decision, and the reason behind it. You request it from the VA, and when it comes, you or your officer can see in writing exactly what happened. Wrong condition listed, a record they ignored, a flat mistake. You can't fix what you can't see, and the C file is how you see it. Now, separate situation. What if you weren't denied, but you think you're underpaid? 2 things to check. First, your rating. If your condition is worse than the percentage they gave you, you can file for an increase. Second, your effective date, which is the date your pay is supposed to start from. If the VA set that date later than it should be, you're owed back pay for the gap. And if there was a clear, provable mistake in the original decision, there's a specific challenge for that called clear and unmistakable error. Fix a wrong effective date, and the money doesn't just go up going forward. You get a lump sum reaching back to the correct date. Here's the actual money so you know what you're chasing. In 2026, a veteran rated at 70% with no dependents gets about $1,800 a month. At 100%, it's about $3,900 a month. Now picture a denial that finally gets overturned, or a rating that jumps from 30% to 70%. That's a real monthly raise, plus a single back paycheck covering every month you were denied or underpaid. Reach back a few years and that lump sum runs into the tens of thousands. That's not a maybe. That's the standard math when a wrong decision gets corrected. I'm going to be straight with you on the other side of this too. Sometimes a no is just a no. Sometimes a veteran files, gets a full and fair review, and genuinely doesn't qualify for that benefit. Nobody can promise you a check. But a rush denial from one appointment where nobody really looked is not a full and fair review. That's the kind worth reopening. So here's your checklist starting today. 1. Find your decision letter and check the date. 2. Request your C file. 3. Pick your path. A new service officer at a different organization, or one of the 3 appeal forms, or an accredited agent, or a congressional inquiry through your representative and both senators. You don't need all 4. You need 1, and you need to start. If it gave you something real to do, send it to a veteran you know who filed once, got a no, and walked away. Tell them which path fits their situation. That one text might be worth thousands to them. Quick disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not the VA. This is general information, not a ruling on your personal claim, and rules and deadlines do change. For your own case, talk to an accredited service officer or an accredited agent or attorney for an appeal. The service officers are free. That's it. Find the letter, check the date, pick a path. Goodbye.